A few days ago, I posted a video covering every command in Minecraft except for one, /test. The main reason that I didn't cover /test in that video was because most of the stuff to do with game tests don't even require commands, and it didn't make sense to show /test without showing how to make a game test. So that's what I'm doing today. The first thing we need to look at are test blocks. There are 5 test blocks in Minecraft which you can get in the operator tab or with commands. Instance lets you create a test instance. You give it an ID, I'll call mine tutorial, then you specify the size and rotation. I'll make mine 5 by 5 by 5 and leave rotation at 0. Then you choose whether or not to save entities in your test. This doesn't matter for me because I'm not using entities, but if you are, be sure to enable this. Once you have all your properties set, press done. You should get a box like this, and this is where you'll build your test. Start is where the test starts. When you run your test, it will act like a redstone block, powering any adjacent redstone components. You can only have one start block per test instance. Log will output the given message in the server's log when powered. Accept will report a success when powered. You can optionally give it a message, which I assume is supposed to show in the log when it's powered, but it doesn't work. Fail will report a failure when powered. It also takes a message to show when powered, but it actually works here. Using these, I made this test instance where I can flick a lever to choose which blocks get powered. Now we need to save this test instance. To do this, go back to your test instance block and press Save Structure. Now, to get this test working, we need to make a data pack. To do this, simply run /datapack create and then the name for your pack followed by the description. I don't want a description, so I'll just put quotation marks. Now we need to open the pack we just made. The fastest way to get there is to quit your world, go back to the single player tab, click on your world but don't join it, click Edit and Open World folder. That will bring you to your world folder where you can open the data packs folder and you should see your data pack. Open it and go into the data folder. Now we can start making our pack. Right click and create a new folder. You can call this whatever you want, but you can't use capital letters or spaces. Remember what you name this because we're going to be using this name a lot. And here we need a folder called Structure. We technically don't need to, but to keep things organized, create another folder in that called Tests. Now go back to your World folder, open the Generated folder, then open the Minecraft folder, and finally the Structures folder. It should contain a .nbt file with the same name as your test instance. Copy it and paste it back in the tests folder we just made. The last thing we need to get our test working is a test instance file. Go back to your namespace folder and make another folder called test_instance. In here, right-click, but this time make a text file. Give it the same name as your test instance. This isn't required, but it'll make your pack way more readable. Finally, instead of saving this as a .txt file, we want to save it as a .json. Open that in whatever text editor you want, and then go to this website. This website has a ton of generators for both mods and data packs, and it'll make the next part way easier. To find the test instance generator, go to All Generators and search for Test. You should see 2 options, Test Environment and Test Instance. We'll be coming back to Test Environment later, so don't lose it. For now, open Test Instance. For type, set it to block-based. Function is only used for making mods. Environment is used to make sure that your test runs in the proper environment. Set it to object, and then set type to the proper environment type. Function lets you specify start and stop functions to run. Game rules let you choose game rules to be set during the test. Time lets you set which time of day to use during the test. And weather lets you set the weather to use during the test. If you want to set multiple values, use the all of option and add as many definitions as you need. If you don't want to set any values, just set it to function and leave it blank. Structures chooses which structure to use for this instance, so we want to set this to the structure we just made. That would be our namespace, followed by a colon, the tests folder we made, a slash, and then the structure name, which for me was tutorial. Max ticks is the number of ticks the function will run for before it times out. I'll set it to 20, which is 1 second. That's technically all you need to make the test work, but I'll go over the rest of the values anyway. Setup ticks is the number of ticks the test will wait before starting. Required is whether or not the test has to succeed to pass. It defaults to true, but if set to false, the test only fails if a fail block is triggered. Rotation lets you set the rotation of the test. Manual only stops the test from running during automated tests. I couldn't find any info on what this means, so if you know, please let me know in the comments. Max attempts lets you choose how many times the test will run before it admits defeat. Required success lets you choose how many of the attempts have to succeed for the test to pass. Sky access determines whether or not to put barrier blocks on the ceiling during your test. And I don't know why padding is here, I don't think that's a real value. Once you're done, click the copy button in the bottom right and paste it back in your JSON file. Hit Ctrl S to save and go back into Minecraft. Rejoin your world. If you're still in your world, you need to quit and rejoin. This is something that you'll have to do every time that you change something about a test. Click I know what I'm doing, go into your test instance block, and make sure the ID matches the new JSON file. So for me, that's test:tutorial. Then hit reset and load. I'm gonna freeze the game so I can show what's happening here. Open the test instance again and hit load and run. You can see that the test area gets covered in barrier blocks, and if I step 2 ticks, the redstone gets powered and the test instance puts off a gray beacon. I can now choose which test blocks to trigger. I'll do the log and accept. Now I'll unfreeze and you can see that the barrier blocks disappear and the beacon turns green. Looking in the game logs, we can see our log message. Finally, I'll test the fail block. You can see that this time the beacon turns red and the logs show our fail message. The last thing I need to cover in the data pack is the test environment. We'll make another folder alongside the test instance folder called test_environment. In here, we'll make another JSON file and open it. Going back to the website, we can switch to the test environment generator, and you can see that it works the same way as in the test instance. Why you can do this separately, I have no idea, but once you have, you can go back into the test instance file and replace the environment with the new environment file. Finally, I'll cover all of the commands. Clear all deletes all tests. Optionally, you can add a max radius to clear them in. Clear that deletes the test you're looking at. Clear these deletes all tests within 200 blocks. Create takes an ID and creates a 5x5x5 test instance with that ID. You can optionally give a width, height, and depth. Locate takes an ID and attempts to find the nearest one, but it doesn't seem to work for me. Pause highlights the block you're looking at in a test and shows its relative coordinates. It also outputs the relative coordinates of the block in chat as a button that copies a code snippet to the clipboard that defines the position as a block pause variable. Optionally, you can add the name of the variable to use. Reset closest resets the closest test. Reset that resets the test you're looking at. Reset these resets all tests within 200 blocks. Run takes a test ID, spawns it, and runs it. Run closest runs the closest test. Optionally, you can choose how many times to run it, and then whether to run until failure. Run failed runs all failed tests. You can optionally pick how many times, and then whether to run until it fails or not. You can also choose to run only required tests, and then again how many times and whether to run until failure. Run multiple lets you run a test multiple times at once. You give the test and optionally how many to spawn. Run that runs the test you're looking at. Optionally, you can choose how many times and whether to run it until failure. Run these runs every test within 200 blocks. Again, you can choose how many times and whether to run until failure. Stop freezes every test. And verify spawns the given test 100 times. And that's it. If you learned something, please consider leaving a like and comment for the algorithm, join my Discord server with the link in the description, and let me know what videos you'd like to see in the future, even if it isn't a tutorial. I'd love to branch out from just data packs, but I need to know what you want to see. See you all next month.